Welcome back to Football 301. I'm your host, Nate Tice. Week 10. We are in the second half of the 2025 NFL season. We are going to be previewing a few games that we get lost in the sauce with, plus one game for the cheat sheet. Nice streamlined slate for Week 10. To help me do that, like every week, my guy, Charles McDonald, Mr. Four Verts. How you doing today, Chuck?
Doing good. Got to the end of another week, trying to figure out if I'm actually going to sit and watch this Broncos Raiders game live or just watch the condensed version tomorrow. But outside of that, I don't really have any problems right now. Doing all right.
I know. It's pretty good. I know. It was nice having the World Series on at the same time. And it's like, hey, it's Thursday night. All right, let's get the little multi-view going, especially with that game, that 7-game series. But there will always be something. I always say that, I don't know if I'm checking this one out, and I get suckered back in because I'm
sitting around doing nothing, so I might as well just turn it on.
Do nothing. It's football, and I'm gonna miss this in a couple months, and I'll watch it. It'll be something interesting. I also like Thursday Night Football Twitter.
Yeah,
because
me too.
All of our weeks are done, so it's kind of our Friday night, and you can tell people are letting loose a little bit. And people are popping off some takes. So I do enjoy Thursday Night Football Twitter.
And I think tonight will be the first time that Amazon has NFL and NBA games on at the same time. So I wonder if they'll be doing a little multi-view thing that we can tap into to really turn our brains off. It'll be interesting to see.
I felt the impact for the first time more so than College Football Saturday of the YouTube TV ESPN thing, because the Wolves were playing last night against the Knicks and I couldn't watch it, even though I bought League Pass for the first time ever this year. And then I had to miss a Wolves game because they played on ESPN and they're in the contract dispute. So it was kind of one of those where I was like, oh, this is how it feels. I just a boy that wants to watch his pups, I wasn't able to watch it, but that's it. At least I got League Pass. But anyways, what is going to be available for all of us to view, including an early 6:30 West Coast game, because there is a game in Germany, including your favorite team, Charles McDonald, the Falcons. But that's not one of the games we're previewing. We're going to get lost in the sauce with some fun ones, I actually think. There was pretty easy slate of games to go through. Like producer Stone and I will always text each other like, all right, what are we thinking? What's like kind of the short list? And it was his same games he came up with, the same games I came up with. So it was pretty, and you were like, thumbs up, we're good to go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
All right. So it's time to get lost in the sauce. This is where we take a deep dive on our 3 favorite games of the week. And we're going to start off with the Tom Brady Bowl. This is the Patriots at the Bucs. I guess the Gronk Bowl as well. I guess you could say that. The Bucs are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 48. Pretty balanced over-under. And we're going to start with the Patriots have the ball against this Bucs defense. The Bucs are coming off a bye. There's some interesting injuries in this game as well, especially when the Patriots have the ball. The Patriots are down some key players on offense. Kayshon Boutte has a hamstring, did not practice on Wednesday. Garrett Bradbury has a hip, which is kind of, it relatively is not as impactful as you would think, but we'll see. And then Ramondre Stevenson is still battling his injury with his toe. Hassan Reddick did not participate in practice on Wednesday, but other than that, seems like they have most of their guys, at least from when I checked. When you're watching this side of the ball, what are you focusing on, Charles McDonald?
I guess we're kind of coming down to another Drake Maye heroics game, because this is, I mean, to me, there's nothing that would suggest that New England will be able to run the ball this week. This is one of the worst rushing offenses against one of the best rushing defenses. We've talked about Vita Vea and how he's played this year a bunch this season, so that's kind of self-explanatory. But I do think that there is still an opportunity for him to have a big game, because when we've talked about Tampa Bay's defense this year, one thing we've talked about is how slow they can be on the second level, or really just kind of how discombobulated they can be on the second level when the explosive plays start happening. And I think that's where Drake Maye can have some scramble success. Like when they have they play like explosive running backs or even like explosive quarterbacks that haven't been great this season. Tampa Bay, they have given up the most scrambles, like attempts this season. They have high scramble percentage. They've given up 180 scramble yards, which is 27th in the NFL, while Drake Maye has been one of the best scrambling quarterbacks this season, which is not surprising. I mean, he's a really big, athletic dude, and I think that if the running game's not working, that's maybe a way that they can at least get some yards on the ground and not just have to drop back and fire back into Tampa Bay's defense, which has been, I think, better this season. But I'm kind of looking for the Drake Maye scrambles this week, because I don't really see how they're going to just hand the ball off and really have any success.
that's what I went into too. I always like kind of breaking down the Bulls defense. Like I wouldn't as a coach, but for me as an analyst, it's really fun because of the splits you can look at, base defense, late downs and early downs. There's a lot of like tidy splits with Todd Bowles and kind of McDaniels too. It's a traditional NFL offense versus a traditional crazy Bucks NFL defense. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's some like traditional rules in this game. But so I looked at the kind of like the classic one that you look at with Bulls and Spags is, all right, what do you guys do out of base downs, and what do you guys do out of base personnel? I should say early downs and base personnel. So I looked at the Bucks defense out of early downs because I have felt that this is a way you kind of get after this team. Maybe it was the Seahawks game that kind of brought it to light, but just a few times this season. Just because how their personnel has to go. At times it was putting Parrish on the outside instead of the slot, because if you get them in base, they kind of become more predictable as far as even their funkiness. And the Bucks defense this year out of base on early downs, they're 5th in rushing success rate. I think that no matter how you put it, the Bucks defense is good at stopping the run. That is the Vita Vea effect. That's how they play. They got some big dudes up there, and they play the run really well. And I was even looking, maybe you just run to the outside because you got Henderson for the Pats, and the Bucks got Vea against a backup center. Okay, so it's run to the outside. No, the Bucks are even better against runs to the outside than the inside this year. So I was like, all right, well, take that threat away. But I was really looking at, all right, we're looking at base defense. They're 5th in rushing success rate on base defense on our first and second down, 25th in passing success rate allowed. They allow 9.7 net yards an attempt throwing the ball against his base defense on first and second down. That's 30th in the NFL. They allow 6.6 yards per play, which is dead last. 30th in EPA per play, 28th in EPA per pass, 0.32 EPA per play or EPA per pass allowed. That is MVP level, better than MVP level type of EPA. 26th in explosive passes allowed. That was eye test. It's exactly how I would go against this Todd Bowles defense if I were game planning, and just looking at the math or the data of it. It's like, oh yeah, this makes total sense about how you do it, because you just can get them in what you want. You might face some more cover 2. You might face just a few more things, not as much cover 0. There's like really tidy splits with Todd Bowles on early downs. He blitzes more on late downs, but on early downs, it's cover 3, quarters, a little bit of cover 2, and a little bit of man. On late downs, it's cover 3, man, cover 0. So you're expecting a lot of one-on-ones. But early downs, predictable, and you can kind of get after them. And that's just, I think we both had that same thought because we watched enough Bucks game, and now we're watching a lot more Patriots offense. It kind of just seems kind of, yeah, this is what you should do. Just lean into your MVP candidate and just let him go to work.
Yep. Drake Maye generated 18.8 points on scrambles just this year. 18.8 expected points added on scrambles just this year. Just third in the league. I mean, yeah, that's crazy. It's funny because I even started like looking at because I was writing about Jonathan Taylor this week. This is a little off kilter, but like some of these guys in terms of just scrambles and total EPA generated on scrambles, or Jonathan Taylor, like just his total EPA generated on rushes, still like as good as, or better than half the passing offenses in the league right now, which is just we've got a lot of young guys going on right now. A lot of young guys playing. I think you can feel it every once in a while.
Yeah,
Jonathan Taylor runs would be like the 15th best passing offense in the league right now, which is ridiculous.
Which is crazy. Speaks to, it's like you're speaking to how good that Colts run game is and Taylor has been, but it's also speaking to a lot of these chickens with their heads cut off that are playing quarterback right now. I actually had some on this too. So Maye versus the blitz. Obviously, anytime you go against Bulls, you just got to look at blitz numbers. He's had 8 scrambles against the blitz this year. 7 of them have been successful, almost 10 yards per scramble. Justin Herbert and Josh Allen are the only 2 QBs with more scramble yards versus the blitz this year. He's 6th in EPA per dropback. I mean, this is eye test. This completely matches what I've seen because he just has quick answers, or he can run out of it. He does take a lot of sacks, and I know a lot of people have been asking me about that, and I've been trying to kind of find a way to articulate it. He's not trying to do crazy stuff to the detriment sometimes of taking those sacks. But it's one of those where he's like trying to be good with the football and it's kind of, it's leading to more sacks as opposed to like worse. Like he's trying to just make the best out of a bad play kind of situation. It seems like to me, I think he is going to be a guy that always kind of takes sacks because he is aggressive, but it is kind of artificially high right now. And I also think the offensive line is just not very good.
Agreed.
The Last thing I looked at.
I agree with that from the Falcons game. Like, I haven't looked at like quick pressures or anything, but even just like the Jalen Walker sack that ended up in the strip sack where James Pierce ran it back. I'm like, do you guys talk to each other up front? Like, this is not a crazy like stunt, and they're just buried into like the defensive
like
tackle
the Red Sea.
Right, yeah, and they're all just like buried into this defensive tackle, and Jalen just basically just loops around. But that's a sack, but it only took like 2 seconds for him to get there. And I do think like there's some problems with May where maybe sometimes he holds on to the ball a little long, but I think they just have some real bad protection issues up front. Where it's just like, man, sometimes he doesn't really have a chance to even get going before they just let a free runner through. So, they still got to shore up some of that stuff as they move forward and try to gel.
They're already way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
It's for what they have right now. That's why it's kind of disappointing that Booty will be out, like, because he's been having such a good year. So I kind of wanted to keep that going. But maybe more Kyle Williams in this game for the Patriots. But I also looked up Josh McDaniels versus Todd Bowles stats because they just have so much history, both of them. They've had about 8 games against each other, but just overall, they've called a lot of games. And McDaniels versus Bowles, the last time they matched up was in 2021. So Mac Jones was the quarterback for the Patriots, and Tom Brady was the quarterback for the Bucs. So grain of salt here, but I'm also just looking, all right, did you kind of go against the grain, or did you do anything different against these defenses? And he chucks it more on early downs. Yes, some of these stats are going to have some Tom Brady-ness to them, but might as well look at that Mac Jones year. And they had a designed run rate the last time they played, which was in 2021, week 4, 17.8% on early downs. They ran the ball 7 times on first and second down, and they just chucked it over and over. Mac Jones had an ADOT of 5.2 yards, and I sent in his target map right here. So anyone watch on the YouTube show, it was just peppering. It was just get the ball out, let him go. So I think it's going to be a lot of quick stuff on first down, stick routes, a lot of quick out routes. And then I think second down is going to be the launch down. So I think if you had to take anything away from this kind of matchup, watch second downs. If there's 2nd and 4, the Patriots are ahead of the chains on first down, look for some launch plays, because I think that's where he's going to try and get them. That's going to be their attack. And I think third down is block up the blitz and get the ball out and just get enough over the chains. I think that's going to be their plan of attack, because that's how I would go against them. They kind of are very traditional, all that. And I understand the Tom Brady caveat with some of the stats, but at least for this Mac Jones game. Yeah.
Then they're like the Tampa Bay's defense is still really bad at defending running back targets too. They're allowing almost two yards per route run to running back targets this year. Which is really, really bad.
That's a lot.
And actually, what surprised me was New England was 5th in receiving yards per route run for running backs at 1.39. So just I don't know, I just think of the running back room being like kind of mid.
Henderson, he's a good pass catcher.
Yeah, he is. So maybe this is a big Henderson game where he kind of gets loose. Yeah, because man, two yards per route run to running backs is pretty ridiculous. That's absurd for a running back. Yeah, that's like historical.
Henderson, though, that's actually funny. I had a note on him was last week when they got the Pop Douglas touchdown against Jalen Walker. We kind of joked about it on the Sunday show, like, "Hey, it happens, Walker. Sometimes you get matched up with a receiver because they have him in the backfield." On that play, Henderson was in the slot. He was split out, but it wasn't just as an outside guy. He was in the slot, and they asked him run like a real corner route that was like in the progression, which I thought was just really interesting. It was just something to keep your eye on. So you mentioned those running back stuff, and that makes sense too. Like Bowles with his blitzes they're expecting the running back to be occupied. So if the O line's good enough to get the running back out, it can lead to gashes if you were able to do that. We'll see with this Patriots offensive line, but it is interesting to note. Going out to the other side of the ball, when the Bucs have the football, I noticed that Luke Gedeke was a limited participant in practice this week, which would be huge for this team, the right tackle for the Bucs. But going against this Patriots defense that very good against the run, very not good against the pass. And what are you thinking about this side of the ball, Chuck? What's grabbing your attention?
Oh man, I think this could be kind of what we just talked about with the Patriots offense as far as running back targets versus the Bucs defense. Maybe there's some success that they could have here with Tampa Bay, because they've it hasn't been like quite as efficient as far as them like being able to just rip down screens and get going like they did last year. But they've still been pretty good on running back targets. I think they're fourth in EPA on just total EPA on targets on running backs and fourth in EPA per target. The Patriots, they allow actually the most receptions to running backs per game, and they've been about, middle of the pack in terms of how they defend that. Usually their numbers around 16th, 19th. So that, I think, makes sense for the personnel that they have, but that's still an advantage for Tampa Bay. Because if you're not going to be a team that can consistently run the ball, like you said, that can be an avenue to kind of get those guys in space and get them going, because we know they have some talented backs back there, and that's kind of where Baker can be at his best, operating in the short area of the field and getting the ball out quick. So maybe that's some success they can have, because I still don't think you want to get into these games where Baker is like dropping back, even against bad pass defenses, like dropping back and trying to fire a bunch of times. So maybe that's how you can kind of keep them ahead of schedule against a defense that's, they've got some good numbers on the season, but they haven't really played anybody this year. Outside of Buffalo, like they played well, earlier in the season. But since the Buffalo game, they played New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland, and then Atlanta last week, which sneakily has a fairly bad offense this season. So this is going to be a pretty good test for them. And maybe this is going to be one of those situations where, we haven't played an offense with like legit talent like consistently this year, and it kind of gets away from us. But I do think that, Tampa Bay, like they do have options through their running backs to kind of keep some pressure off Baker and keep it moving downfield.
Yeah, the Patriots, like their run defense is fourth in DVOA, but they're still 25th overall in DVOA. So like you say, the passing offenses they've gone against must be pretty bad, because that's how much they're getting weighed down. And yeah, they're 28th against the pass. And also they have faced the easiest schedule so far per DVOA for a defense. And that's what's funny about the offense. The offense has faced the 16th schedule, and that the kind of the Drake Maye has gone against easy defenses. It's middle of the pack. It's not as easy as you think. It's the defense has gone against some easy offenses. And the running back stat makes sense, because burning in my brain is Robert Spillane chasing running backs. He's a fine player, but he's been, because they play so much quarters, the Patriots, they'll get him isolated on a running back in the middle of the field, just because how designs of plays work, and it hasn't been always pretty for them. So that makes sense. Might be a Rashad White receiving game. I looked it up though. So Bucs offense, middle of the pack passing, bottom 5 defense this year. That's been a big drop off. Offensive line injuries is a big part of that. Lack of receiver threats has been a part of that. And also I was looking, all right, I mentioned all the quarters the Patriots run. The Patriots also run man coverage at a top 10 rate this year. Baker has been bad against man coverage, which makes sense given the receiver injuries. Baker is, per Next Gen Stats, 32% success rate versus man coverage, second worst among qualifying quarterbacks. Only Cam Ward was the only one that was lower. Cam Ward, who's playing with like 2 rookie receivers, a rookie tight end. Yeah. 52% completion rate. Head coach got fired. Rookie.
I gave Cam Ward the Perseverance Award in my midseason column.
That was that. Whatever you want to give him. He's been one of my favorite interviews.
Me too. Yeah, he's fighting for his life out there, man. Awesome. I respect the honesty.
I do too. And his film actually hasn't been that bad. I actually think it's been, I want to write about him soon. I think they're on a bye this week, but I want to write about him soon. But anyways, Baker, 52% completion rate against man coverage. The only ones worst are Penix, Dart, Cam Ward, Jaden Daniels, and Carson Wentz. 4.3 yards per attempt against man coverage this year, tied for the lowest with Kyler Murray, who just got benched. And then the worst explosive play rate against man coverage this year. The only ones, there's 2 players that are lower, but that was Rattler and Wentz, who Wentz is on IR and Rattler got benched as well. So that's just been a thing. Christian Gonzalez, I think he's good to go, but he's great in man coverage. Even if you can get him sometimes, he's aggressive. And the Bucs just don't have Mike Evans. Chris Godwin was another do not participate. Emeka Egbuka, I believe, is coming back now, or not coming back, but better health now, because he's been banged up as well. So this makes a lot of sense. So I think that's really what you got to focus on, is can the running back get going against Robert Spillane? I think that's just a big thing for the Bucs this week. Any other thoughts on this side of the ball?
I think I actually just saw this because I was looking up the Patriots stats against this little stretch of pretty weak offenses that they played. And I saw that since week 6, the Bucs offense is 30th in success rate on offensive dropbacks, 34%, 29th overall in success rate on offense. They're averaging 24 yards per drive, 29th in the league, 1.4 first downs per drive, 30th in the league. So I didn't realize they've been this bad on offense over the past month. So hopefully they're trying to, get, I don't know, maybe New England stuffs them. I don't know. Now I'm starting to read.
I know that. And the Bucs had a bye. And so that's the thing too.
They had a bye, so maybe they can fix some of these things. But
that's what you hope.
Yeah, they've been terrible basically since everyone was clamoring for Baker to be the MVP. Like that's kind of what. That was the thing people were saying. I know a lot of people have forgotten already, but people were saying he should be the MVP. Come on, let's.
Just like 3 weeks ago. Just 3 weeks ago. We didn't even mention him in our midseason award show I did with Robert, known better than I, which is just so funny how things change. Everyone freaked out on me a month ago. It's just funny how it goes. I know. I don't know what to make of the Bucs offense because it's like they're kind of middle of the pack, like I said, but it's just I don't think the run game's very good, and it statistically lays out that way as well. I know Bucky Irving's been hurt, but I think it's just even the O-line injuries. So Gedeke might come back, but it's like. I don't know. It just something feels off. And obviously I think the easiest thing to say is injuries. But also it just shows you how hard it is to live with Baker scrambles and high wire throws, to Emeka Egbuka on broken plays. Like that's why you want the flow of the offense to be better. It's like, Baker can have that those ceiling lifting plays, but like the downness of this offense. The Lions game wasn't that long ago, and that was an ugly affair for both offenses that night. So, we'll see if they get a little post-bye bump. But they are at home against the Pats, 2.5 point favorite. So Vegas almost sees this as basically even. What's your prediction?
Man.
I know this is tough.
I think I'm going to go with the Patriots. I think it's going to be a close one. But I think I'm going to go with the Patriots. I kind of like Drake Maye's ability to and got to have in situations, which they're going to be a handful, just to kind of put the team on his back and do it. I think he's that local talent. So I'm just going to ride with a better quarterback and take the Patriots.
I'm also going Patriots, but I'll just be honest. I don't feel great about it because I think they're pickable, and it's just that the Bucs might, I don't know. And I know the Bucs are coming off a bye, but it feels like maybe the Bucs in 2 weeks. I'd be like, oh no, they got him. But it's like where they're at right now, I think they're just like a week away. I think their Bucs are going to be fine in the second half of the year. It's just like right now they're kind of just like caught in kind of a little bit of a health crossroads. I think it may be just an identity stuff, but we'll see. Bowles will get more aggressive or way less aggressive after buys too. Like he's big at it's kind of the same stuff he does, but he'll just kind of change the knobs of it. So curious if he comes out maybe this week and go like, I'm not going to blitz at all, or here comes the house every single play, cover zero, let's do this. So I'm just, it's good. It's a very fun styles makes fight, just about May going against this defense and how McDaniels likes to go about it. Just very traditional. So I'm very excited to watch this game actually. And it's going to be a morning game for me, but we're going to take our first quick break. Before we do that, make sure to check us out on the Yahoo Sports Network, available to stream on leading fast services or on Yahoo Sports TV. Lots of great stuff there. Make sure to check it out. We're going to take our first break and we'll come back with a few more games we get lost in the sauce on. All right, we are back. Steelers at Chargers. Let's get lost in the sauce on this one. This is Sunday Night Football, AFC battle. Kind of a fun battle. It's not loser leaves town. It's like an eliminator match. So this would be a good one. The over-under is 45. Got some teams that are hard to figure out. I'll put it that way. Hard to figure out these two teams. And I feel like we talk about them a lot. And I think every week we have something new to ask questions about more than we have definitive answers. But teams that have battled injuries, teams that have shifted some players around, making trades, both of these teams. But we'll start with when the Steelers have the ball at the Chargers, against the Chargers defense, I should say. What are you focusing on, Chuck? I have a kind of a natural thread I pulled at, so I'm curious if you went anywhere else.
It's kind of weird because when I went back and watched the Steelers game last week against the Colts, I know they won. I was like, man, this Steelers offense was kind of mid in that game. They just got so many good opportunities to get the ball good field position, and I think it pushed them up to first in average starting field position for the season this year on offense. Yeah, their average starting field position is
the most Tomlin stat ever. I don't know how else to describe it. If there's one Tomlin stat, that's the Tomlin stat.
I was about to say they're first on offense and second on defense in terms of average starting field position, which is just perfect. Yeah.
That's perfect. The hidden yards.
But if I'm the Steelers, I think maybe you try to just run it on the Chargers, because I don't think like the interior of their defense is always that tough. Like they've had guys who have had good like individual performances from time to time, but as a whole, they're 23rd in successful play rate on rush attempts, 21st in EPA per rush on defense, and I think that's probably where you're going to have the most success, because the Steelers passing game is interesting. You know, I still don't think like they're this team that wants to get into. Even though you have Aaron Rodgers and he's done some nice things this year, I still don't think they're a team that wants to play like these long down and distances, especially against the Chargers pass rush that can get after you a little bit. And we know Aaron's not the most fleet of foot guy anymore, and every time he tries to kind of escape, you start to see it. But I think if you can just kind of stay ahead of the sticks against this Chargers defense and not allow them to do some of that funky stuff we like to do on third down, that's probably like your best, avenue for success, because they still had a pretty good year on defense. Even though I think they still need to make some pretty severe personnel upgrades this offseason, kind of a nod to the coaching staff and some of the young guys that have stepped up. But if you're the Steelers and you're Arthur Smith, you probably just want to stick to your mantra. Like, let's try to run the ball, get some good stuff on first and second down, and then give Aaron an easy job on third down, because I don't really love like what they've done as far as like some of their third down stuff, or maybe not love what they've done on third down, but how they project sometimes against some of the faster defenses that like to get after you.
So the first kind of thing I looked at was the Chargers defense. And I feel like, I don't know, I want to have new things to say about them, but it's kind of the same. It's really well coached, really well game planned. Yeah. But it's not the most elite defense as far as talent wise. There's some cool players, there's some good players. They're coming. Odafe Owe has been actually pretty nice for them with the Chargers once they came over from the Ravens. But it's just what they do on defensively is it's very shell kind of coverage, very bend don't break as far as coverage wise. They'll run blitzes and simulators and creepers and everything, but a lot of quarter shell stuff, and they match it all up, and they want you to throw underneath, and they'll rally to tackle. That is kind of like their thing against the pass, and they are a good tackling team. They get a lot of bodies around the ball, a lot of eyes around the ball. But then they're going against Aaron Rodgers, who last week you mentioned kind of was a little underwhelming. He threw 2.9 air yards per attempt last week, which is like
he's had a handful of those games
lowest. Yeah, I should have looked up his historical number, but I mean, through the first month or 5 weeks, it was like I think the only one that had a lower air yards was Alex Smith in his year with the Commanders. Air yards per attempt, like in the past decade. So it's, I was kind of looking, I'm like, are the Chargers good at that? Or is that just like their philosophy and it's the best of the bad bunch? They're 9th in success rate defending throws under 10 air yards. And they're slightly above average in a good way, allowing explosives. And they allow yak, but it's not like efficient yak, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, you'll get it underneath on 2nd and 10, but they'll tackle you. They'll let you get those 4 yards and they'll tackle you. Like the air yards is really low and the yak is high and the success rate is high. So to me, eye test that matches it. A lot of bodies around the ball. So a guy misses, but another guy's tackling. Going against a defense or going against an offense and a quarterback that's just dinking and dunking. Like, just that's what he does these days. Jaylen Warren will make guys miss as well. So it's just kind of an interesting kind of style things with those two. But you mentioned the Chargers run defense, and I agree. It's kind of, below average, I would say overall. The key player is Tier Tart. And then it's drastic when he's on and off the field. When Tier Tart's on defense on first and second down, early downs, this is when his big bruising ways, does a lot. The Chargers are top 10 in rushing success rate allowed. They're tied for 10th, 66%. When he is off the field, they are 66% in a good way for the defense. So it'd be 34% for the offense. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. Reflip it. So 34% allowed. When he is off the field, they allow a 48.3% rushing success rate, which would be dead last in the entire NFL. So they go from a top 10 defense to the worst run defense in the NFL when he is off the field. So Tier Tart, very important for this Chargers defense. And I think Isaac Swallow missed practice, I think, this week too. One of the left guard for the Steelers. So just interesting. I do like Frazier and McCormick and everything, but just interesting as well. So Tier Tart is very important for this Chargers defense. Other side of the ball.
Yeah.
Against the battered Chargers O-line, because Joe Alt is back on IR, against the Steelers defense that, if you can tell me what the Steelers defense is, I will give you a gold star, because I have been trying to figure them out. But what do you think about this one? What do you got on this side of the ball?
Dude, this Chargers O-line is crazy. They're so banged up. It makes no sense.
Oh yeah, that's right. They traded for Trevor Penning. Oh God.
Yeah.
No, leave Justin alone. No.
Yeah. If our lads is correct, Trevor Penning will be backing up Zion Johnson this week, which is like, ugh. So their tackle situation right now. Yeah, I'm just looking at our lads. They got Jamari Salyer at left tackle, who was a 6th-round guard drafted in 2022, and Bobby Hart.
He did it in a pinch before. Yeah, Bobby Hart.
Yeah. Jamari played left tackle at Georgia, so he
did it in a pinch. I think his rookie year, and he actually was okay.
Yeah.
Like he was okay. Though. I'm not saying great. I'm saying okay.
Yeah,
so
there were some pretty rough moments out there too, but it was okay.
Yeah,
it was okay. Yeah. And it's interesting because if they were healthy up front, I would feel a lot better about their chances to kind of, really have a pretty decent game against the Steelers defense that has not been good. The Steelers defense, they usually look at third down stats comparatively. The Chargers, they have the highest third down conversion rate in the league at almost 50%. Steelers are one of the worst in the league at 42.3%. Third down conversion rate, like basically on every level, if you look at third and short, third and medium, third and long, it all kind of tilts towards the Chargers. But this is like the exact matchup that TJ Watt destroys. If you got TJ Watt going against Bobby Hart and Salyer, I just think that's such a radical talent difference that it's going to change some of the math and make me not think about it as much, because that we've talked about here, you can just get blue chips. And I think that's where the Chargers might find themselves against the Steelers defensive line with the current state of their offensive line. So I don't know if they're going to be totally terrible, but it just seems like for a Steelers defensive line that hasn't probably played up to what we thought they would be this year, this looks like a matchup that they can kind of get back on track and win. And then you're just kind of doing a Herbert versus the world thing again, which is possible for him to win. But I just think their offensive line might be too poor of a spot against, some of the peaks of talent that the Steelers have acquired.
I think the Steelers defense is very gettable, but it's just, that's the thing, is can the Chargers get them? My note on this was, this side of the ball is like a what are you battle, because I'm trying to figure out both of these teams. Just the Chargers passing game has had some cool stretches and cool moments. Like the receiving talent's awesome. Herbert has been rolling, playing. This is the most aggressive I've ever seen Herbert play, probably since he was a rookie, maybe, which was great circumstances, but people just kind of forget that, why he got drafted so high, yada, yada. But this is the thing too, is just the trickle down effect. It's like, you can chip TJ Watt and he's the most chipped player in the NFL. It's him and Myles Garrett. So you can chip him as much as you want and give your right tackle help. All right. But now that's getting 4.5 guys technically into a route. All right. Now, if we have the running back in protection and helping out, that's 3.5 guys getting out on a route. Now, if we give chip help on both sides, it's really just 3 guys getting out, because it's just a running back's chipping and tight end's chipping. And now we got 3 guys running routes. Can that work? Yeah. The Steelers defense is gettable. JPJ is a good player, even though he's been gettable actually a little bit this year. Ramsey is gettable. I'm curious. It's just like, all right, can the Chargers even just keep Herbert upright? Because when you do it that way, then everything just becomes touchdown to check down. All right, if we get 3 guys out in a route, then it all has to be downfield. It just has to be, just by physics and just by designing a play. You're not going to chip help on stuff. You can do little minor chip helps on stuff that's going to be super underneath. But if we're going to do that, we're just going to get all 5 out. So I'm just curious how it's not the offensive coordinator that Greg Roman, that I'm going like, well, he's going to come up with something. It's more, I think the run game will have some stuff, and they'll have some cool play action stuff. But the Steelers have been okay against play action a bit this year. So I'm just curious what their game plan is, because they have their hands tied behind their back, even if they have the receiving talent and the quarterback to pass it. It's just it's kind of stinks. I mean, if I was a Chargers coach, I'd be so frustrated, because it's like, oh my God, we could be going supernova right now, but we just can't keep our tackles healthy and our first round running backs hurt as well. So it's just it's brutal.
It's cursed. It's cursed. He picked up. Herbert picked up right where Philip Rivers left off. You know, he fights through your life, down 7. Got to have a drive at the end of the game. But it's okay.
With a 4-string center.
I kind of got sidetracked here, because I was like, Bobby Hart is starting an NFL game in 2020. If our last depth chart is right, because I was like, man, like I remember it had to be a long time ago when Bengals fans like wanted him, you know, expatriated from like the country, and that was 2020, the last time he started for the Bengals. So since 2020, and this is how you know Herbert's in trouble. Since 2020, so the last 4 seasons, here is Bobby Hart's journey to Los Angeles. Buffalo Bills 2021, Miami Dolphins 2021, Buffalo Bills 2021, Tennessee Titans 2021, Buffalo Bills 2021 to 2022, Detroit Lions 2023, just as the offseason practice squad. Last year he was with the Commanders, it's just offseason practice squad, and now he's with the Chargers. So in the past 4 years, he's switched teams 8 times. Good luck, Justin. Good luck.
Yeah, I know his transactions page. His transaction page on Pro Football Reference. Yeah, oh my God, it's pretty hilarious. There's a lot of waived and a lot of releases. There's a future contracts in there. You know, future contracts are for like the undrafted free agents that you think are interesting, and practice squad guys, not the guy you want starting outside. Yeah, he started a few games for him this year. It's kind of one of these where it's just like both of these teams are incomplete. Both of these units are incomplete, but they both can have some highs, and there's some real deal talent. And that's what's so weird to talk about them right now. And both teams are winning teams that are probably can like fight for playoff spots in the second half of the year. So, all right, predictions. Chargers are 3-point favorites at home Sunday Night Football. Who are you going to go with?
I'm going with the Steelers. I think this could be just another game to kind of fart around and win, because you just got some singular talents in the critical matchup between the O-line and D-line. The Steelers should win pretty handily. So I think Herbert's going to have some good moments. I think it'll be close, but I think the Chargers, or I think the Steelers pull it out at the end.
I actually thought you were going to maybe go Steelers or Chargers. I'm actually going to go Steelers as well. Not that I think they're an amazing team, but this is a good matchup for them in the weirdest way. It's really going to come down to like how well they tackle underneath, how well they're able to stop the run, because the Steelers are going to run it. That's like just a big thing, but like Rodgers is going to pepper it. He's going to get the ball in their hands. And so it's like, it's kind of one of these things, like who blinks first on that side of the ball. But the other side of the ball, it's just that the Chargers have such a weird makeup right now that I'm not willing to hang my hat on them. Against outright bad defenses, hell yeah. Like they're going to air it out. But against teams that still have, you know, Highsmith hurt his ankle again, but they still have Herbig and they still have TJ Watt. And if I think Highsmith is still playing, it's just, I don't know. It's just hard for me to just go, oh yeah, they got it. But I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I was like, Keanu Benton, he's been a lot improved recently too. So, you know, he's had some of his best stretches over the past couple of weeks. So maybe, I don't know. I just don't see it. It's funny because the Bobby Hart thing, like I've been watching the Chargers offensive line, but they had so many injuries that I stopped learning the names of the guys who were in there. So like I'm watching.
Yeah, you're just like, this guy will be here for a minute. Yeah.
I was like, wait, that's Bobby Hart? Like 5 years ago, people were like, this guy can't play in the NFL. This is bad. This is really sad for them. I don't know. It's not good.
Yeah. The Steelers trade for Kyle Duggar, so he played a bunch last week. So that's another thing. I think Peppers is still hurt with a quad. So like, you know, Duggar might be just an interesting piece for them. I've always liked Duggar. He's a unique player. He's not for everybody, but maybe this defense can get some stuff out of him because he still can impact the game. So maybe that's going to help out too. Like that's the thing. I just don't know what to make of the Steelers team because they've just been so off. And I think our guy Derek Harmon's had some moments as well. From Oregon. He's had some decent moments, I think, as well. So maybe they're coming on. Like that. This is a great proving ground game. All right. Let's go with an NFC battle now. Two teams I feel like I've watched my entire life play 100 million games because they have. Eagles, Packers at Lambeau, Monday Night Football. Packers are 2.5 point favorites. So looking at this as a fairly even matchup. Over under is 44.5. Good solid one. We're going to start when the Eagles have the ball against this Packers defense, and this is our Haas fight of the week. All right, Eagles offense, Packers defense. Packers got absolutely rolled on by the Panthers offense last week, run game wise. Sony allowed 102 yards passing. Yeah, they got to remember that. But going against an Eagles offense that, even without A.J. Brown, is starting to find their groove again, get their groove back. The end run offense strikes again. Never bet against them, apparently. They're too big to fail, too good to fail. What are you thinking about this side of the ball for our Haas fight of the week?
Man, the Packers defense is, I guess it's like, I just want to say a little bit underwhelming based on the standard that they set early in the season. Or maybe, my guy Joe Gilbert over there in Carolina is just, God reincarnated as an offensive line coach. It doesn't matter how many guys are down, we're still going to run your ass over. That was pretty crazy last week because they were down. That may be it, because they were down, like 3 or 4 guys up front, and it didn't really seem to matter. Like, they looked just like they had against every other team. So maybe we're just like kind of watching one of the better offensive line running game duos kind of come into its own, but that still has to be a little concerning if you're a Packers fan going into this matchup against the Eagles, because, I think like Saquon Barkley, I think a lot has been made of like how he's played this year and how the Eagles have looked this year, because it's not like the super explosive, force of nature that you remember from last year, but still 4th in EPA per rush. They're 13th in successful play rate on rushing attempts. So it's still a little bit of what you had last year, not as consistently, carry to carry, but you're still kind of picking up big plays when you need them. And overall, they rank 9th in EPA per play on offense. So, I mean, you should be feeling okay about that when you're going into a game against the Packers and kind of where they've been recently. And you obviously have to expect that they're going to throw the ball better than Carolina did last week, where they had, like you said, 102 yards, kind of barely got it going. But still, there are just some singular matchups that I get a little bit worried about for the Eagles, like Micah Parsons out there. Jalen Hurts going to hold the ball. They're going to invite pressure. They have a high sack rate. That's always what's going to be with them. And they haven't quite gotten the consistency of like the explosive plays that they usually get on offense kind of offset that. So maybe this is a game where Michael Parsons just kind of comes in and disrupts things, and they kind of, just crush them on 3rd down and you stifle them. But you still have to stop the run first with this Eagles team. And I don't think that the Packers showed last week that they can do that with any type of consistency right now.
The Packers defense is that, of course, Parsons, figuring out their D tackles and everything. But that was the thing, too, was last week was the Panthers were hitting a lot of outside runs. And it felt like they took advantage of kind of like aggressiveness / kind of the lack of weight, the light in the pantsness of the Packers' edges a little bit. It's one of those things I kind of want to even study a little more about, like exactly what was getting them, because I do think this Packers defense is still good. It's just that it just feels like every week someone's able to poke at something. And especially now that the offense might take a little half step back, even from how they've been a little inconsistent on some stuff. Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, Eagles are always a funky matchup because they play in their own way and they have a lot of talent and they kind of dare you to win on one-on-ones. And the Eagles are a very heavy zone team, which is, has given Hurts some issues even this year. Remember the Broncos game? Remember Vance Joseph going from man in the first half to zone in the second half? So maybe that is a good thing against this Eagles offense. They also tackle really well. The Packers are one of the best tackling teams in the NFL, believe it or not. So those things too. It's like, okay, so if we don't let them create explosives, it's just going to turn into, I think, running the ball and 5-6 go balls. Like, that's kind of what I feel like this side of the ball turns down to. If you defend the go balls, you have a chance. But you're not wrong. Like, I mean, it's pretty drastic or stark, I should say, the kind of like the difference between even last year and just previous years with this Eagles offense and what the O-line's been able to do, what the run game's been able to. The jumbo O-line stuff has been an inspired thing for them. It's really, really helped. That might help them again against a Packers edge group. That's not the biggest group weight-wise. But just looking up compared to last year, yards before contact, running back runs, early downs. Just trying to narrow this as much as possible. This year, it's 1.75 yards before contact. Last year, it was 2.34. I mean, that's over a half yard difference right there. Yards after contact, literally the exact same, 2.91. So found the difference. Yards before contact has dropped off a half yard. And then before that was 1.92. The year before that, 1.83. So it's kind of falling back to earth. They're way more under center now, which is, again, a thing that maybe will help against this defense. Even though I do think Rashawn Gary is one of those guys you can always get on zone read stuff or read, quarterback read game, I should say. And maybe Jalen Hurts gets him there. They got him last year when they played in the playoffs. So maybe that's something you lean into here. But I do think, and then the explosive run rate is kind of hanging about the same, but the rushing success rate compared to last year, actually kind of a little bit better. It's just that those plays, it just hasn't been as many consistent explosives, I think is the best way to put it. But I just watched this team. They're going against 6-0 line looks. I looked at the Packers. They're below average. They're bottom 10 in rushing success rate against 6-0 line looks. And they faced a decent amount, about 24 runs. So it's not nothing. So I think the Eagles run duo and they throw go balls. Like they're going to get under center. They're going to get that 6 offensive lineman out there. They're going to just pound the freaking rock. And Saquon's had the groin. I think he's okay, though. I was trying to look for it because this is a Monday night game, so the injury reports aren't great for doing a show on Thursday. Right. But yeah, that's just, I don't know. I just think that they have, again, a natural answer against this Packers defense and control the game a little bit.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Because I'm sure we'll get to this in a second, but when I watched that Packers-Panthers game, because I wasn't watching it too much. And man, it's kind of hard to keep track of all these games like on Sunday. When I went back to rewatch, I thought the Packers offense played a lot better than I had in my head going into like the performance. Yes. And then I watched it. I'm like, oh, you guys were just stupid. You should have scored like.
They're so frustrating
this week.
And every week I do the same thing. I not every week, but I feel like the last month, because I feel like I've talked about the Packers a good amount, and I'm just like, Sunday night, I'm like, yeah, I even said Sunday night, I was like, they after round and found out. And then it's like I rewatch them, and then I do the next preview show, the superlative show, and I'm like, yeah, man, they're contenders. Jordan Love's an MVP candidate, and it's like, and then I do the cycle all over again. Like we're disappointed in the moment, and then I'll rewatch. They're so much better. So I tell you, let's get to that side of the ball. Packers offense, Eagles defense. Jalen Phillips edition for the Eagles went for a third rounder. I am not saying Jalen Phillips is not talented. Supremely talented. Gives the Eagles some outside linebacker edge size. I always wait for the other shoe to drop with his injuries. That's the issue with him since college, since high school. Nolan Smith potentially back as well for the Eagles defense, going against a Packers offense that is now down Tucker Kraft, and just receiver room is just it's Romeo Doubs and whoever is playing that week. So I'm not even sure who's going to be lined up for them this week. But what's grabbing your attention on this side of the ball, Chuck?
I just need the Packers to stop being dumb. Like, can we avoid some of like the can you not plays? Because last week the
just
Packers,
be normal.
Just be normal. They averaged 53 yards per drive last week. Like by far first in the league last week. They had they averaged 4.4 successful plays per drive. Like they were moving it,
which is great.
But that's incredible. But when you get down to the red zone, they had like a 20% red zone success rate. Jordan Love, like it felt like sometimes he got down there and was like, all right, how can I make this as difficult as possible? I mean, the one across the field that the Panthers DB dropped, I mean, I was like, dude, what are you doing?
It's one of the worst plays I've ever seen.
Just chill out. And that on both sides, because if you're that Panthers DB, I don't know how the hell you dropped that ball. Like there's no receiver near you. You're by yourself in the corner of the end zone, but you know what happened. He saw himself running down, like he was already at 50 in his head, like when he tried to catch that ball. So you lucked out there.
I think I said this on Sunday, but he was 2 feet off the ground already doing the Lambeau leap. yes. He
was ready to fight some fans that pushed him off the wall if he had picked off that.
He's ready for beer to get spilled on him.
yes. That's what he was thinking about. Because I look at the Packers turnovers numbers. He's like, they only have 5 turnovers. I was like, how? I feel like they're doing dumb stuff every time I watch them play, and stuff like that. Getting a smidge lucky, but luck is what you need, honestly, to go out there and win a Super Bowl. So I ain't mad at it, but I do think that there's like the Packers offense has still been one of the best in the league this year. They're first in EPA per drop back. They're first in percent of plays that go for 0 yards. They're fourth in sack rate, second average distance on a third down to a first down. Like this is still a really good offense, but I think And I'm guilty of this too. Like sometimes you get trapped up on these plays where it's like, oh my God, that was like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I can't trust these guys. And then they, you look up and they've won the game and they've had a pretty decent day. So as long as they can avoid that, I think they'll have a pretty strong day because I don't trust this Eagles defense fully. I know they're getting guys back, but sometimes in the first, like this, like when it's your first game back, you're still trying to get acclimated, or even in Jalen Phillips' case, you're trying to get acclimated to a new team. So I think that this is kind of a place where maybe the Packers can catch the Eagles a little bit off guard before the Eagles defense kind of gels for that last final season sprint. Because it's not like the Eagles defense has been bad, like top 12 this year, above average. But the Packers offense, when they're not doing dumb stuff, is still, one of those units that can really get moving and race you down, as we've seen a few times this season.
Yeah, I know the Packers are so hard to describe because I love designs, and sometimes it's just like, especially second downs, but first and second downs, like, I get it. You guys are staying ahead of the chains, but like I feel like I keep saying this about them. It's like, can you just be a little like go past the chains on first down and or second down rather than create another 3rd and 3? I will say they're very good on third down. They are first and third down conversion rate, or third and long conversion rate, and they have one of the best second and third down offense overall. Both teams are good in the red zone. So again, it's well designed, even with those moments, like you say. So that's what's so hard about them. It's like overall, they're great, but they just have some of the worst lows because they just try to do so much, or they're trying to do too little. But again, against this Eagles defense, the Eagles are 30th in average distance to go on third down right now, 6.2 yards, 30th in a bad way. Packers are second in average distance to go on third down because they do all those kind of simple runs, not simple runs, but just kind of at you runs. They're trying to just jab you to death. And then they just get into short yard stuff and they try to throw haymakers. Like that's their formula. That's what they do. But I look too, as the other guy I should have mentioned is Michael Carter, the second, going to the Eagles as well, which might bump Cooper DeJean outside, which is super interesting because that's been one of the biggest weaknesses of this Eagles defense. And I looked at first, I was like, is Michael Carter, like, I don't know how he is as a tackler. I think I've always thought of him as a solid slot player. He is a slot player, basically only. He only played 2 snaps on the outside this year, 3 snaps. Him and DeJean, who's one of the best tacklers in the NFL, DBs, like Michael Carter actually hangs up there, like has similar numbers, not as big, but just kind of like, all right, so we're making that a B on the slot, and now we have a B plus, I think, DeJean on the outside. That's why I like DeJean. He's a best 5 enabler for DBs. You can play safety, slot, outside, get your best 5 out there. Michael Carter's a pretty solid slot too. So like that's one weakness they kind of short up. Having said all that, I think you can run it on this Eagles defense. Like I don't think they have that kind of otherworldly defense like they did last year. Makes sense. I mentioned those third down to go stats. They're 31st in run stuff rate, which is gains of 0 yards or TFLs, 26th in early down rushing success rate. Going against the Packers offense, that's 9th in early down success rate. That's kind of what they do. They jab, 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 and 23rd in yards per run. 9th in success rate, 23rd in yards per run. That's all I kind of need to say about what this Packers run game is. But there's, even with Kraft out, even with them kind of having some frustrating moments, I do think the Packers kind of have some good answers here. And you still got Jordan Love. You still got speed at receiver. Watson, I think Golden might be playing. Dobbs, of course, I think is good, firmly good now. So you still have some answers. Musgrave can run. Not as good as Kraft, but he can run. So yeah, natural answers, I think, for this Packers offense.
Yeah. And the thing about last week is, they had a 20% like touchdown rate in the red zone. You still got to the red zone 5 times. Like, yeah, that's pretty good.
Right.
So just
and on the year they're top 5 in red zone. Yeah, that's it.
Just stop being stupid. Just stop being stupid.
Just be normal. Just be normal, Green Bay.
I'm throwing away the youngest team ever stuff. You guys have played too many games together at this point. Get it right.
We're in year 3. Yeah, I agree.
Come on.
We're in year 3 and 4 now. Yeah, I know. I totally agree with that too. All right, Packers are 2.5-point favorites. Vegas sees this as fairly even. Who are you going with, Chuck?
I'm going with the Packers. I like how they match up against Philly's defense. I think this might be one of the last times you can catch Philly's defense off guard before they start to gel for that final stretch, because they've added some players now. But I do like the Packers to get this done. And if they can just survive like the Eagles rushing game on the other side, this could be a pretty, maybe a season-defining win for them as both teams try to get ready for that final stretch for the playoffs.
And the Packers have enough team speed on defense that actually really helps going against Hurts, who's going to break contain over and over. Can you run him down? It's like these scrambling quarterbacks. Do you have the team speed to keep up with that? And I think they do. Like Micah Parsons has had success against these tackles. Lane Johnson's amazing, still is this year. One of the longest times of pressure on record right now. Jordan Mailata still very good, but Parsons still gets after him. Like I would say, their pressure rate allowed is probably the highest against Parsons because they played so much with the Cowboys. So that is just one kind of little, variable that's very important, of course, that you got Micah Parsons there to throw at Hurts in this offense. I'm also going to Packers. I think they cover. Very close game. I think it's just a 3-point game. Comes down to it. I hate to do the old adages, but it really comes down to those couple big plays, whether there's a turnover or not. It's going to just come down to that. But two evenly matched teams that aren't perfect right now, but by the end of the season, they're going to be still rolling. I just think they're still in the middle of finding their way. Makes sense. It's week 10. But no, losing Tucker Kraft stinks, but I do think that the Packers have some other answers here. Should be great night games. Thank you. Thank you, NFL. Thank you, schedule makers. But we're going to take our last break, and we're going to come back with a cheat sheet item in our Hail Marys. See you guys in a sec. All right, we are back. It's time for the cheat sheet this week. That is the one key thing to watch. It's kind of like a little mini loss in the sauce. That's a good way to put it. Just like a little dipping sauce. But we're going to look at an NFC West battle that shouldn't get overlooked because of the records and the what can come from these results. But I am looking at the Rams Seahawks game next week. But we got the Rams at the 49ers. The Rams are favored by 4.5, I should say, at San Francisco, at Santa Clara. What's your one cheat sheet item for this game, Chuck?
The 49ers, they got to just keep things in front of them and do not let the Rams get into the red zone, because that it's been a source of struggle for the 49ers this year. They've allowed a touchdown on 56% of their red zone trips, 31st in the league. And the Rams have scored a touchdown on 56% of their red zone trips, which is second in the league. So if you can keep them out, if you keep them at bay, keep them out of the red zone, maybe you got a shot on defense. But the Rams also are just overall third in success rate on offense. 49ers are 24th, and it's been pretty rough for them since Fred Warner's been hurt. So I don't know how much they're going to, I don't know how successful they're going to be, but if you can keep them out of the red zone, maybe you got a chance.
Rams can really run the ball, and the 49ers can't really stop the run. And that was even when Fred Warner was out there.
Now Mike Williams is out for the season too. So
yes, yeah. Michael's out. And yeah, I know Keon White was a great addition for this defense. I really like that move, but I don't know. He's not DeForest Buckner. He's not a guy that's going to just come in and just like really amp up your run defense. And it's not, I mean, honestly, my note for this was just more kind of like a interesting kind of tidbit on the Rams is they've gone back to kind of being, or not they've gone back to, they're still a duo team, but their zone runs have been so much better this year because of the tight end looks they're doing. They're kind of doing some new formations, more under center stuff, but also how they're creating their kind of wing looks and bunch looks is a little different than even in the past. And so why this is important, the 49ers against zone runs this year are 31st in success rate allowed, according to FTN, 48.1% success rate allowed. They're 27th in EPA per run allowed. The Rams this year on just outside zone runs, because that's what I think is they're getting really good at. They run it about 17% of the time. They're averaging 4.9 yards per attempt per carry, 62% success rate, 20.7% explosive run rate on outside zones. And the 49ers are bad at it. And now Michael Williams is hurt, who is like their run plugging defensive end rookie. Fred Warner's gone. You know, the other guys have stepped up.
Puka's back.
Upton Stout's cool in the slot. Who's back?
Puka's supposed to be back this weekend.
Puka's back. Puka's back as well. I know. It's like, I know Malik Mustafa's really cool at safety, but it's like, I don't know, like who's setting the edge, you know, and this is what just like the injury report for anyone on the YouTube page. It's just pretty funny. Rams just have a couple guys. 49ers have a whole lot of guys on their injury report right now. And I just think it's cool. Like every year, what McVay, the dials he turns and changes and what he emphasizes and stuff. And I think now they're still a duo team. They're still an at-you run team, but the zone stuff has been really, really cool and very, very explosive. The Eagles game's kind of the epitome of it when they played them, but 49ers haven't been great against it, so I think they're going to kind of just roll. And then I had a note like the Rams using dime. They use dime at the highest rate in the NFL. And I think that's just interesting against a 49ers offense with use check and all the stuff the tight end looks they can do with Kittle and Farrell and stuff. So just kind of an interesting tidbit. I want to see how Chris Shula defends this offense kind of thing. Predictions. The Rams are 4.5 point favorites on the road. So almost a touchdown favorite if on a neutral site.
Rams. I just think the 49ers defense is too banged up, and that's not the offense we banged up against. The Rams defense is really good too. Rams defense is incredible.
Yeah, so, I know.
Yeah.
The Rams defense is really good and funky and stuff. So I know it's more of a scheme curiosity than a result curiosity, if that makes sense. I just want to see how the Rams, what they dial up and stuff, whether we see Roger McCreary, but I'm going with the Rams as well. I just think they match up really well. I think their floor is high, their ceiling's high. They got talent. They got O-line. They got a quarterback that's MVP level right now in Stafford. So, and just the 49ers are reeling. The offense is going to do some things. Don't get me wrong. It's Kyle Shanahan. He always has something. The offense has enough weapons right now. Mac Jones is playing well. It's just their defense is just so tattered. I just can't trust them. But now, to cap off the show, it's time for some Hail Marys. Hail Marys, this is where we throw up a prayer of a prediction, and Charles is on the board. It should be an explosive. That wasn't just a successful play. That was an explosive for you. Chuck picked the Panthers to just cover because he was just trying to get on base, swung nice and easy, and just blasted at 450 feet over dead center because the Panthers outright beat the Packers. I'm also 1 for 9 because I knew the Seahawks offense would get after the Commanders defense. I thought it would be the run game finally getting going. It was Sam Darnold starting the game 16 for 16. So my prediction was wrong, but the idea of it was correct because that's what we're doing in Hail Marys. But Chuck, what are you going to go for this week with your Hail Mary prediction?
All right. My Hail Mary prediction is the Seattle Seahawks hold the Arizona Cardinals to 0 points this weekend. A shutout for the Steelers defense against the Arizona Cardinals. I think that some of this Jacoby Brissett stuff has gone a little too far. And I say that, I honestly say that as a compliment to Jacoby, because Jacoby is a very competent quarterback.
Great guy.
Yeah. Right, great guy. And I say that because like he's a very competent player. Like when he's had to start, like he's had some stretches like for Cleveland. Like he might be the best quarterback that's played for Cleveland since Baker left. And
no, that's a fact. That's like a statistical fact. Yeah. Yes.
The Colts, like they gave him back in the day to start. Like he's had stretches where he looks good. That player should be able to play well against the Cowboys defense. Like he is competent enough to shred the Cowboys defense. Like the bar is very low there. So, like the idea that game would move you in a direction on how you feel about the rest of the season kind of makes no sense to me. Because the only team that's played poorly against the Cowboys defense is Washington, and they're just kind of all over the place right now. So I think this is a spot, like when I just look at like where the talent advantages are for Seattle, I think it could get really overwhelming for Arizona to try and figure out how to move the ball. Just when you see like Seattle, they don't allow really explosive plays. They're first against the rush. Really every single part of their defense has been what we expect this year, and they played better, I think, over the past month or so. So my Hail Mary this weekend, this is a tough prediction because most NFL teams don't score 0 points, but I think Seattle could absolutely pitch a shutout this week, and it's not going to be this feel good story for everyone that it was last week when you got to pick your way against the Cowboys defense.
Yeah, if you want to build a narrative, just do it right after a team plays the Cowboys. And also, by the way, I got two things now, actually. One is, I think the story of the Cardinals right now is the Cardinals defense is good now. They're 10th in DVOA, 8th in weighted DVOA. Eye test points to the same thing. They've been good on run defense the entire year, and now Walter Nolan looked like, first round pick. There's the first round pick they drafted, and he's really talented. Look at him. Zaven Collins is cool. So it's like, I think their defense is more interesting than whatever the quarterback situation is, but I know that grabs it all. But Quinnen Williams, also want to talk about him real quick, actually, because you mentioned the Cowboys defense. Happened in the moment when I was recording with Robert on Tuesday, or in the middle of the pod, and so I kind of like wasn't taking it all in. People realize how good Quinnen Williams is, right? Like, do I have to like read? I didn't realize how low his national stock has gotten.
Neither did I.
Yeah, prime of his career, great guy, hard worker, and legit all-pro candidate defensive tackle. One of the best defensive linemen, period, in the NFL right now. So I know it seemed like a lot, but I actually I don't know. It's Quinnen Williams. I don't know. That one I kind of didn't react to. I was very neutral in my reaction, but yeah, great player.
I thought that was a great pickup for Dallas, honestly. Like, if you shoot,
I've marinated on it. Yeah.
Look, I understand it hasn't been a great offseason for Dallas, but like, what, Quinnen's 27? Like, the fact that you could get an all-pro defensive tackle for a first-round pick, and I know Quinnen has not had his best year this year, but like, dude, that's an outlier for what he's done. And we know, if you've been paying attention, and maybe this is just me being too in the weeds, and I know him because I covered him as a rookie. Like, dude, he was not happy there. Not happy in New York. And we've known that for 3 years now. And obviously you signed the extension because you can't just turn down that money. Sometimes it can be tough, especially, if this is your first like true big payday. So obviously, you're going to sign that rookie extension. But I mean, he's a 27-year-old all-pro defensive tackle that now he has said publicly, I just want to play for a team that has a quarterback. And now you do. Yeah. So I hope that I imagine this is going to be the fire that he needs to kind of get back going. And now, like, that's something you can start to build around next year. I wish they had got Quincy too. We saw that they were also trying to trade for Quincy Williams too. No, but that was weird, because if Quincy did get benched, like he said, I don't understand why they wouldn't have just shipped him off as well if you planned to bench him a couple days later. It's a little strange. That would have been great for Dallas, because then you can get but now we got DT and a linebacker who are both like Pro Bowl quality. Now we still got those first round picks. Like, you can start to build from there. But good start, man. I thought the national reaction, like people making fun of Dallas for that trade, was a little weird. Like, 27-year-old all-pro defensive tackle probably should cost you a first round pick.
Who's a great guy and works hard. Like, that's the thing too. Yeah. It's like that. It's not like you bring him in, this guy, we have to worry about him being pouty right away. It's like, no, he barely misses time. Like, he's a, knock on wood, but he's healthy. He works hard. He's not just a pass rushing, gap shooting defensive tackle. He can be, but this dude eats against the run as well, like that, and which is this defense is needed for half a decade. He forces fumbles. Like, he impacts the game. Like, even if he doesn't end up with the game with the sack, he's getting pressures, and he plays the run really well and plays hard. And they have him under contract. I don't know. It was one of those, in the moment, I didn't kind of have a big reaction. I was kind of more ha Jerry. But now I kind of am just like looking at him like, well, Quinnen rocks.
Quinnen Williams,
so let's make sure that it's Quinnen Williams. I mean, like, we did a top defender draft or whatever. He's in the honorable mentions at the very least, like, he's on the board, like on the short list. There's a lot of good defensive tackles. He's one of them. he is one of them. He is an impactful defensive tackle who has scheme for still. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to kind of not retcon it, but revisit that trade, because I didn't like it. And they need corners. That was more of my negative, was that they still have 4 more moves to make. They need DBs. They need other guys too, but
not done. This is a great start to trying to rebuild that thing,
And they should just popped up the stat right here on the YouTube show. But and pairing with Osa Odighizuwa, there's a great synergy between those two. That's what you want. You have a guy that Odighizuwa is a gap shooter. Quinnen can eat and is a mauler. Perfect. That's exactly what you want. An athletic mauler. So
and you got Mozzie out of there too.
Yes, also on that. They probably just like, not enough.
You want him? You really? Okay.
Yeah. Him and then A.D. Mitchell with the Colts. Just enough. Yeah. Just enough. I actually did like the A.D. Mitchell like sprinkling for the Jets, because who else they got?
Me too.
Garrett Wilson and a couple interesting tight ends, but I like it. Like, just give him a shot. Just let him run deep and catch some go balls. I got to say my Hail Mary. Speaking of go balls and speaking of the Colts receivers, I went with Alec Pierce. He's going to go for 100 yards. I was going to say 100 yards and a touchdown, but I'm just going to try and get on the board here. He's going to go for 100 yards this game. He's going to have a blow-up game. I don't think the Falcons have enough speed to keep up with him or size. And if they're going to blitz and run some funky stuff, I think that's the answer for Daniel Jones, is they launch stuff to Alec Pierce. So I think he's in for a big week this week. I think there's a reason they moved on from A.D. Mitchell. Curious what they decide with Pierce after this year, because I think he's turned into just such a good receiver on top of the deep ball stuff. I think he's top 5 in explosive receptions per route run, but also is able to develop more of a real route tree. So Alec Pierce goes for 100 in Germany against the Dirty Birds and their, should I say, reeling defense, undersized defense. What adjective would you use for them?
A little undersized.
Undersized. A little light in the pants. They're fast. They're fast up front. Back end, we'll see. Yeah. Fast up front. But that's our Hail Marys. That's our Lost in the Sauce. That's our cheat sheet. We're closing it out today. But Chuck and I will be back Sunday live right before Sunday Night Football. So come hang out while we recap Sunday of Week 10. It's a lot of fun. Make sure to check that out on our YouTube channel, on Yahoo Sports YouTube channel, I should say. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice on social media. That is Charles McDonald. You can find him at 4Verts. What'd you work on this week, Chuck?
Oh man, we had a big 4Verts column. Did a lot more JJ McCarthy explaining, and I'm wagging my finger at our friends in the media for creating expectations that he has not even lived up to yet. So yeah, it's just, I don't hate him. I don't care about him as a person.
I don't know either. But I want good quarterbacks. I want my Vikings prediction to be correct.
Yeah, but ultimately, I just feel like before we give this expectation on you should do something a little first. I don't just do something. Then we can start talking about what's next. But nothing's happened yet that would make you think that this is going to work. So let's just be honest about it. Let's just be honest about it. Stop doing the mythologize. It's freaking weird.
It wasn't the McCarthy thing. It was the framing of what he did. Was more what we were talking about. And that's why we keep trying to emphasize. It's been 3 games. And he's a project, so let's wait. Let's wait, because this has not been kind of indicative of like something to go crazy about. But
maybe he figures it out, maybe he doesn't, but he hasn't yet. And to act like he has is just as ridiculous as like saying he never will.
That's a good way to put it. But yeah, if you like those McCarthy takes, subscribe to us, follow us, rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts, or watch us on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, follow us there as well, subscribe, all that good stuff. And thanks to Stone, Austin, and Mess, and Behind the Scenes for making us look and sound good. They're always doing a great job. And thank you all for listening. Have a great weekend. See you guys Sunday night.